Welcome everyone. My name's Monique Alvis and I run our AI Design Lab program here at Microsoft. We're really excited here today in partnership with Insight to run our first AI by Design community webinar that is an encore of a community series that we ran recently across ANZ. We've had over 400 designers, product, marketing and tech participants join us across the series. And this community has really been set up for you to have practical, non-technical conversations about designing, building and managing products, experiences and services in the era of AI. Today, we are going to hear two really exciting stories of first-moving customers that have built consumer-facing AI solutions. First, we'll hear from Petbarn about their PetAI journey of market-first AI-led product for pet parents with Rory, GM of Product and Platform at Greencross Pet Wellness Company. And then we'll hear from Phil on redefining Cricket Australia's fan experience with AI insights. Phil is the Senior Product Manager of Fan Experiences at Cricket Australia. Both of these organisations have made really bold moves to be first movers in their industries. They've also both been recognised as finalists in the AFR AI Awards recently, and they have some really amazing practical and candid learnings to share with you about their journeys and their product launches. After Phil and Rory, we'll also hear from Veli, who is the CTO of Insight. Insight was the build partner on both of these projects, and he'll unpack the topic of agentic, what on earth agentic actually means, and how we build trust in an agentic world, plus also show you some of the behind the scenes of Cricket Australia. This is going to be a truly jam-packed 45 minutes. We usually spend about 3 hours in the in-person sessions on these. To keep it interactive, we will have some time for some Q&A in the background, and we'll be also answering Q&A live in the chat. You'll find a button up the top where you can ask some questions as we go. Please ask those as we continue on with this session. And with that, I'd like to introduce Rory from Greencross to kick us off.
Thank you, Monique.
I think that I'll keep loving you way past 65. We made a language for us two, we don't need to describe. Every time you call on me, I drop what I do. You are my best friend and we've got some things to do.
So thank you for the introduction, Monique. My name's Rory. I'm the GM of Product at Petbarn at Greencross. So Greencross is Australia's largest pet wellness company. We own over 260 stores across Australia and another 160 vet clinics as well. In addition to that, we offer really a cradle to grave pet wellness service. So everything from puppy and kitten training right through to funerals and cremation. So really we do offer the full suite of pet services. So about 18 months ago, our journey with AI started, where our board was looking to introduce a whole new way of for us to engage with our customers across that whole pet life cycle journey. So they asked us to build an app, and the app they asked us to build was not the app of today, it was the app of tomorrow. And what they meant by that was they wanted us to build an experience that was going to engage pet parents, as we call our customers, all the way through into the future, and really to have a very engaging experience. And rather than having buttons and links everywhere within our app, we really wanted to use kind of the next generation of technology to drive that experience. So this is kind of what we started here, our vision. So our vision was to create a best-in-class pet wellness app. So pet wellness is very important. What we're really here to do is to drive better outcomes for pets, better health outcomes, better nutrition outcomes. So it's not just about selling food, it's about really creating a proposition that allows us to offer all of the great advice that we have within our ecosystem and provide that to customers in a digital ecosystem. So pet wellness, very, very important. The experience that we deliver is very important as well. So the customer and the pet has to be at the heart of every decision that we have in the way that we design the app. And if you look at our stores, so we've got, as I said, we've got over 260 stores. Our team members there are very well trained. They've got a wealth of experience, and obviously our vets do as well. So we wanted to make sure that this experience came across in a digital channel as well as it does physically. So we needed to work out how to do that. And then that kind of talks into the next piece here, which is around omni-channel. So as I said, we're both digital. We have all of our stores and our clinics as well. So we wanted to really replicate that physical experience in the digital channel as well. So it was quite a challenge on how to do that. And then ultimately, obviously, at the end, the long-term love from our customers, we wanted to make sure that our customers loved the experience and came back. So this is where we started to look at generative AI, and our journey started with Microsoft. So we really identified GenAI as a way to get those expert pet advice and recommendations across to our customers and really leverage all of our core experience that we have. And what I mean by that is that we've got thousands and thousands of pages of content. We've got a lot of advice sitting within our ecosystem from our vets, from our groomers, from our subject matter experts. We wanted to make sure that that came through in the app. It had to always be up to date because things change. And we've got to make sure that the pet always gets recommended the best products because obviously, as I said before, these outcomes for the pets are exactly what we want to drive from the app. And also when we look at AI, this is the big piece that a lot of people are very fearful about. Is it going to provide the wrong advice? So is it going to hallucinate and recommend that you feed your dog chocolate, which is poisonous? We wanted to make sure that didn't happen, and that was really one of the key pieces from the board. So what the board asked us to do is create a process where we could mitigate those risks and work through a process of getting our concept to realization and show everybody how it worked and really mitigate a lot of those potential issues. So the way that we went about this is we started off with ideation workshops with Microsoft, and we brought our XLT and our key stakeholders along to those to make sure that everybody was on the same page in terms of understanding what AI could do for us, and also look through all the potential use cases that we could use AI for. And there was a lot. So, and we only picked a few of these, but there were some that we didn't look like because it would for example, we could use machine vision here and look at cats and see how broad the cats are. We had a name for that called How Fat Is Your Cat? And that's an area that we didn't want to go to because really it was straying a little bit into vet advice, and the vet advice is much better handled by vets themselves. So we picked some very core use cases in terms of advice and during this ideation process. And at the end of that, we produced the vision video that you've just seen. So and that vision video was really, really important in helping us get the concept across the line with our XLT and our board. And then from that visioning process, we went into a proof of concept phase. And that was really, really important for us in that it showed all of our board members and our internal stakeholders and our vet board the way this was actually going to work in practice. So our POC was a working solution using static data rather than dynamic data. It used our whole product catalog in there and used all of our content. So, but what it allowed customers to do, well, not customers, but our internal customers, so our board and our XLT, was to use the live user interface to really interrogate the model and show that it actually wasn't going to deliver the hallucinations and poor results that we feared. And then, of course, we went and then built the product itself. And we were very lucky in that we already had an existing partner who were experts in this space, Insight, who you'll hear from a little bit later. They were a core partner with us anyway on our integration side. So picking them to go and be our build partner was a really easy decision for us. So, you know, going in and building this with our partners and then releasing it in a phased manner. We released it to a smaller subset of customers across web, and then we launched it with the app. So that process took us altogether about 6 to 7 months from ideation to delivery. But it was a very well documented and very well handled process, and it dealt with a lot of the key kind of roadblocks that you'll see from boards generally with something that's quite new. So this proof of concept, as I mentioned before, was probably the key thing that got us across the line. So you'll see on the right-hand side here, this is actually what the proof of concept was. As I said, it was a working solution that everybody could play with, and it would generate real results out of the model. We built a proof of concept here using only a single agent, so that we weren't in an agentic framework at this point, although we are now. We have 5 different agents in our framework at the moment, but this was a proof of concept to show how AI worked and how an agent would handle these sort of questions, and it allowed us to vary the context of the questions and the way the agent responded. And it was just really good to give somebody this and say, look, don't just believe us. You can go in and use the model. You can ping the model with as many questions as you want, and you will see the information that came back. And what it allowed us to do was to test as we went through and really tweak the model as it went on. But rather than the technical the pieces that were really important here, this was much more important as a means to get influence and to get buy-in from our XLT and our board. So this, as I said, this was really important. Vision, video, and the proof of concept together were the things that got us across the line. The workshops we did, the ideation session, when we brought in our core subject matter experts and our XLT early in the process, this was really important to get them across the line and get them up to speed with what our AI can do. Obviously, having a partner that works really well with you and works well with your ways of working was very important for us, and Insight was a great partner for that. And then to get the business case across the line, we didn't do this on its own with AI. We built this as part of our app business case. So a lot of times when you're trying to get an AI business case across the line, people will question the benefits in a very unproven kind of space. But with this, because we were building it into an app, it was much easier for us to get an overall business case across the line here. So where did we go in terms of the risks that came up? One of the biggest risks was how is AI going to work? How is it going to hallucinate? What's going to happen when you change the model going forward? And this is where we use an automated testing framework called deep-eval. And what that does is it allows you on multiple different pieces of the framework to test at scale your AI model and your agents to make sure that it's always going to be as you expect. And it will test for things like hallucination, how relevant your answers are to the response, but also to the context of what people are asking about, how faithful it is to the source material. I mean, how well does it summarize? You know, how correct is it? But even down to how long it's going to take to respond. So latency in this sort of situation is really important as well, especially when it's pulling from multiple different sources. So this sort of framework implementing this answered a lot of the risk questions our board had, and it also allowed us to move very quickly between the single agent model into a multi-agent agentic framework. And I know that Veli from Insight is going to talk a little bit more about this sort of thing a little bit later on. So this was another key part of getting this across the line. So, you know, we built this into our app, and in December last year, we launched the app. It was right from the first day, it was very successful for us, and we are getting thousands of conversations every week through the AI, really providing pet parents with the advice and the outcomes that we were looking for. So we found that this use of AI has been a really good fit for us. And then, you know, what's that actually done for us in the end of the day? This is where we got to. So as I say, we launched in December. In March, we became the #1 shopping app in the App Store, free app, not just within pet, but within everything, over the likes of Temu and Amazon. Not for the whole time, but we did hit that #1 spot in the App Store, which is a really great achievement. PetAI, as I say, is right at the center of that experience. It's a core part of how we engage with our customers. 4,000 chat sessions every week, so customers are using it and continue to use it. But the big piece that everybody liked from a commercial point of view is that for the customers who use PetAI, they convert from an e-commerce perspective twice as much as those who don't. So, you know, it's a really good use case from not just from an advice point of view, but from a commercial point of view as well. So this is basically where we got to, and it was a very interesting journey for us. So that's as far as I'm going to go today, and I'm now going to hand over to Phil. So Phil's going to take you through Cricket Australia's journey using AI to redefine fan engagement. So over to you, Phil.
Beautiful. Great. Thank you, Rory, and hello, everyone. So by means of introduction, my name is Phil Dudzinski. So I'm the Senior Product Manager of Fan Experiences at Cricket Australia. So day to day, what that means is I manage the team of designers, so UX designers, as well as developers who build and manage our Cricket Australia live app, which is the flagship app for cricket within Australia. As far as speaking slots go, it's always difficult to follow the puppies, the videos of puppies, and Rory, that's actually the first time I've heard the euphemism for the term broad. So a broad cat, I haven't heard that one before, so I'll have to make sure I remember that when I visit my family friends moving forward. So what I want to take you guys through all today is a very candid story about AI and about how Cricket Australia within 4 months went from ideation all the way to live in production, our AI Insights feature. We did things a little bit differently as well, whereby we actually didn't go the conventional chatbot route. So I'll make sure that I'll show you guys that along the journey. So as part of being candid, I want to talk through kind of like what success looks like. So I think everyone on the call or the webinar has probably seen that image where it's like what you think success looks like, and there's like a point A and there's a point B and it's a straight line. And then it's like what success actually looks like, and it's point A, point B, and then there's a line just going backwards and forwards and like all over the place. Because quite honestly, that's exactly how it was. And so that's why I want to take you guys through every single step that we took and the hiccups we faced, and make sure that I'm really transparent around those to showcase how we got to the end place that we got to. So in cricket and for any sport, the most important thing is to grow the game. So we've identified 3 ways that we can grow the game, and those have been identified through many user interviews, surveys, speaking to fans, and I'm sure people on the call will resonate with them. So the first one is building affinity to players. So if you make a hero of a player, as I'm sure a lot of people on the call would have as well, like you're so much more likely to start to follow the sport itself. Next is building affinity to teams. So have a team that you support, have a team that you love. So for example, I, for one, in the AFL, I support North Melbourne. We've won what feels like about 5 matches in 3 years, but the affinity just keeps drawing me back. And then the final one is building stories and narratives that pique interest in the game. So those stories on the screen now, you'll see some of those stories that I think really just light up Australia. So you'll see Sam Constas coming out on Boxing Day to bat, ramping Jasprit Bumrah for sixes out of nowhere. On the right, you'll see Michael Jordan after retirement coming back, getting a three-peat of NBA championships. And then in the middle, I hope that this is something that's rings true to everyone, but this is a moment that stopped the nation. So in the 2023 Women's World Cup, the Matildas versed in the semi-final of England Lionesses. Sam Kerr takes the ball halfway down the pitch, takes a few dribbles, and knocks through just the strongest goal, stopping Australia. That was actually the highest ever watched broadcast TV moment in Australian history. And it's all the surrounding stories, stats, and insights around it that really brought it to life. So if you don't know, they actually beat France in the quarterfinal, and that was actually the longest penalty shootout ever. It went to 11 rounds, or 10 or 11 rounds, and it was all that intrigue that just built so much momentum into watching the game. It was also the 7.5 million TVs watched in Australia, and over 80,000 people were at the stadium. So we're trying to think, how can we better build stories using insights and data like that one that was 11 rounds of penalty shootouts. Now, in sport, we are so lucky to have the data that we have. A lot of companies have a lot of data, but sport just has so much. So I'll start to take through, for those who aren't too familiar with cricket, I'll break down what happens at every single ball and the level of data that we have. So for every single ball, we have over 100 individual data points come in. And just to give you an example, that might mean the first data point might be, what's the name of the bowler about to bowl the delivery? Are they left-handed, right-handed? What kind of bowling action do they have? Are they fast bowlers, fast medium? Do they bowl off spin, leg spin? Which side of the wicket did they bowl from? Over the wicket or around the wicket? Then once they've bowled it, where did the ball land? Was it short? Was it full? Was it at a length? Was it on the full? Then where did the batter play the shot? So did the batter actually try to play a shot? If so, what shot did they play? Was it a cover drive? Was it a back foot defense? Was it a pull shot? Then we start talking about the connection quality. Did they actually hit it out of the middle? Did they time it well? If not, did they edge it? If they edged it, was it an inside edge? Was it an outside edge? Where did the ball actually go? So who fielded the ball? How many runs were scored? And now that's how we're starting to see so many data points. And then that's overlaid with all the historical context. So with over 100 data points a ball, over 600 balls per match, give or take, there's many different formats of cricket, but for simplicity's sake, I've said 600 here. We have hundreds of matches a year and over 200 years of data. If you multiply all those, it's well over 1 million data points. So we've got a very, very strong team of editors and journalists, and they're the ones who built cricket.com.au and the CA Live app to what it is today. But with this many data points, they're unable to cover every single story that's occurring at any given moment. And that's what we wanted to use AI to help us do. So that's using AI to let us tell stories that would otherwise be left untold. So what actually is it? I'll quickly take you guys through what it is, and then I'll take you through the short process and the hiccups that we faced along the way. So I mentioned it's not a chatbot. So for marquee matches within the Cricket Australia Live app, if you navigate it to a match, you will find a tab called AI Insights. And what happens is that at a pre-prescribed key moment, so for example, a fall of a wicket, a start or an end of a session, a milestone hit, it'll trigger an insight to appear into the feed and tell you what's the most important narrative at that exact given moment. Like I said, this isn't a chatbot, and we've actually taken a bit of an interesting approach to it, where we think it's important that we tell the user what's most important right here, right now, similar to what you'll find on all your favorite news and media outlets, how top stories is always the hero still there. So as an example, you might see Stephen Smith has just faced his 20,000th test career ball, he's now spent 9.5 days at the crease. And that's an example of an insight that you might find. So let me take you guys through that's the flashy end part, and then sort of the hiccups along the journey. So a lot of people who I speak to start talking about, yeah, but our areas, our businesses have strong regulation. Like, we have to go through legal, we have to go through, like, we can't make mistakes, like, there's contracts, etc. But let me tell you right now that with a sports fan, if you get something even slightly incorrect, people will just stop what they're doing. They'll stop their family dinner. They'll run away from their day job, and they'll run to their phone, get on Twitter, and they'll just roast us. So we had to make sure that every single insight that we were populating was correct. And if it's even off by a few decimal places, it wasn't good enough. So we actually have about as clean as data can be, being a sport. It is very neat. It is very nicely tabulated. It is very nicely populated in columns. What we quickly learned was that we actually had so much data that the AI was sometimes struggling to pick out the correct insights and stats and correct data points. So for example, if a player started with 95 career wickets before the match, and then let's say within the current match, they took 5 wickets. So now that's 95 plus 5. That means that they've just taken their 100th career wicket, which is a very impressive milestone and likely something that we want the AI insight to actually showcase to fans. Very often, though, it was coming up with, it might say 100 wickets, but sometimes it'll say 96 wickets. Sometimes it would say 25 wickets. And we were like, what is going on? And people just like, we're not having it. So we had to dig deep. And what we've learned is that even though we had such well-structured data, it doesn't mean that it's friendly to the AI models. And it taught us that we had to apply different mechanisms to help the AI. So we actually didn't want the AI to take that 95 plus 5 in those 2 columns. We wanted to say, in this format of a match, make sure that you refer to this exact column where we had a pre-calculated value, making sure that it shows the exact right piece of data for that moment. So that was a very, very big learning for us in moving forward. The other really big thing that we did was we wanted to make sure that the best insight was being surfaced to the fans. So for example, sometimes the AI insights model would come up to users and I'd be watching the game and it would show me an insight and I'd be like, wow, like that's a really, really good insight. But then watching the match, I would think like, but you know what? So many more interesting things had happened in the lead up to that ball and on that ball. Why did it not pick that one up? So then we started going down the rabbit hole of how do we make sure it picks the best insight? So not only correct, but the best. And that's where we started to introduce more agents. So we started with a single agent and a single prompt. And mind you, these prompts are about 2 to 3 pages long. And it's not simple, but we moved from a single agent to then constructing what I would describe as a team of specialists. So we had one agent who was a batting specialist, one agent who was a bowling specialist, one who was a like scorecard and like reading the match specialist, a trivia specialist, and all of them would go away, pick 5 to 10 insights each, surface what it thought was most significant. We would then have a single summarizer agent, which is a bit like the king, and it would look at all the insights and pick what was the single most insightful one to then present. Finally, before actually bringing it to the users, we had to learn that we had to bring in a QA agent, QA standing for quality assurance. And this agent was the one that was like, if anything is a decimal point off, we're not going with it. So it would recalculate everything. If it was incorrect, it would ask it to run it all again. If it was incorrect again, it would say, that's enough for now. So that was a big journey, but something that really assisted us in getting stronger insights and having them be more correct. So the final outcome, and in summary of what we built was, we took all the data that we have in cricket, so hundreds of years, hundreds of data points per ball. We had 7 separate agents running a full statistical analysis. each of them had 5 to 10 insights, creating 50 live insights per key moment. We had the single summarizer agent selecting the best one and ensuring it's correct. And all of that came to the front end of a user being a single insight. What's really, really impressive, I think, about the story that what we've done is that there's zero human intervention across any part of this. So it's truly fully user-facing, and with that became risks, but also came a really interesting challenge that I think that we did really well with. So in the first month, we had over 250,000 users of the feature, and something that I'm really proud of, and something that we're looking to build next year. So I'll conclude by just talking through what's next. So what we really want to use AI for is to assist our editorial and journalistic teams to think, how can we add more color and flavor beyond what the current resource profile allows? So we want to start being able to tell different stories to different types of fans. So we're starting to think about it and ideate what we're going to do for the upcoming season. But as an example, we might speak to different fans differently. And this is a very light one, but say there's a Sydney Sixers game and a Brisbane Heat game. Sorry, Sydney Sixers versus Brisbane Heat. Say the Sixers thumped Brisbane Heat. We might now start talking to the Brisbane Heat fan in like a commisseratory tone. And then maybe we'll talk to the Sydney Sixers fan in like a, woo, like great job sort of tone. So there's many different things we can do. We can start talking to casual fans, different to avid fans, to beginners. And it's something that we're really looking forward to. But for now, that's all we have. And I'll now pass on to Veli from Insight, who's actually going to show you under the hood of the prompt tuner that drove the Cricket Australia Live App AI Insights feature, and how we built trust with the teams around us to be able to actually ship it into production.
Thank you so much for that, Phil, and thank you, Rory, for sharing your stories on PetAI and Cricket Australia's AI Insights feature. Now, if you've picked something from both Rory's and Phil's journey so far, I would kind of summarize that in one word, and it's trust. How do we build trust with our key internal stakeholders, our board, our executives, to let us put in front of our customers, our users, our clients, an experience that is inherently new and innovative? And in Phil's case, how do we build trust with fans who are so passionate and so bought in to the statistics? And when we're referring to statistics and making calculations, the slightest mistake can erode that trust. And this trust is starting to emerge as that central topic and a central point of conversation in all of our conversations with our clients. My name is Veli, and I'm the APAC CTO for Insight. I've had the great pleasure of being both on the PetAI and the Cricket Australia Live journey, but also 20 plus others. And this concept of trust has really started to form a central point. Now, before I talk to trust, let me take you a couple of steps back to talk about why it's starting to emerge as such an integral, important conversation, regardless of the experience and the industry that we're building AI experiences in. The way to kind of take that step back is kind of talk about the state that we're in today. I like to talk about that as the agentic world that's starting to emerge. And there's this paradigm shift occurring between tasking AI agents to do something like perform a calculation, create a summarization, or create content, or in more advanced cases, if you're an advanced user of ChatGPT or Claude or any of the new models that allow you to task the AI agent to act on your behalf, I could today perform a very complicated set of tasks chained together to come up to an outcome. For example, today, I could task ChatGPT operator using Qantas.com to go and find the economy flights between certain dates and times and book a room. And it would execute this detailed series of tasks on my behalf. That's the world that we're in today. This is referred to in the industry as agentic workflow or an AI workflow, or in some cases agent, just to be a bit confusing. But agentic workflow really tells us what it is. It is a sequence of steps. When we are very prescriptive with our task, we're able to give to AI and delegate that agency to the AI workflow to act on our behalf. But we're moving to this world of a thinking AI, an AI that is outcome orientated. It's organized around goals. And therefore, we are delegating an outcome to this AI agent. This is specifically in the industry being regarded to as an AI agent or AI assistant. In this world, we are very descriptive on the outcome we'd like to achieve, but we are not micromanaging AI on the tasks that needs to complete for us. We want the outcome. We don't care about how it goes about doing that. Today, both PetAI and Cricket Australia AI Insights is an agentic workflow. In both cases, there is an intent classifier agent that tries to understand the user's expected intent from the query that comes in. In Rory's case, PetAI takes your questions that you ask it, and it tries to determine, well, is this a product-related query? Is this an advice-related query? And it then determines which of those agents that Rory mentioned is best tasked with that query. In Phil's case, there is no chat involved, so we have designed a workflow, and I'll show it to you in a second, where it goes through that predefined set of tasks. But in the new world, the world that we're moving to, AI will be the one doing the planning. It will first reason, what is the outcome that I believe the user is wanting to achieve? And then it goes and finds its own agents and tools, gathers them into a workflow that it has designed, and goes about and executes that. This is a journey that we've been on for a while now, and we continue to be for the next 3 or 4 years into the future. We have come from a world where we use ChatGPT to create poems, or in Rory's case, the first thing we did together with Petbarn was to ask AI to create us a jingle for PetAI. That jingle still exists somewhere. That was the world we lived in 2 years ago. Today, we're in a world where Visa and MasterCard have released their first AI agents to do shopping on our behalf. We delegate the intent and the intended outcome to purchase a product at a price that we choose. And the AI agent will go and execute that task for us until it's shipped and arrives at our door. That has been the evolution that we've been on. From a technology perspective, this evolution continues. Phil talked about the challenge about 6 months ago in having large language models do complex math for us. And it gets quite complex in some of these cases, more than 25 plus 25. It gets a lot more complex. Today, the most advanced models are able to write code for us to solve those complex math problems. And this is the journey that we'll continue to be on. Now, this journey presents us some interesting challenges. The challenges from a technology perspective are quite well understood. We know we need technical foundations for multi-agents and tool ecosystems. We know we need tool sets for orchestration and evaluation. Rory shared to us Deep Eval, which we implemented to be that guardian to continuously evaluate the models and the performance of PetAI. The technical foundations are starting to be in place, and soon I'll deep dive into Cricket Australia a little bit more. What we now need to start to think about is, how do we deal with the design challenges at hand? Because the design challenges aren't ones that technology frameworks alone will solve for. The community here at large, the product designers, the experience designers, will need to rally around these. How do we do goal alignment when AI is the one doing the planning? How do we nudge AI back on track and keep it on the path that we intended it to be on? How do we validate and realign that towards that goal when we deviate? Today, Claude CLI has a rudimentary framework for doing so, but the design pattern for this doesn't quite exist yet. But what is clear is more complex the problem, the more transparency we require to trust in the output and the outcome that AI is working for us. In Visa MasterCard's case, how do we deal with potential errors? How do we know if it has selected the best product at the best price? Or in PetAI's case, how do we trust that the product or the advice given to the consumer who asked the question is the right product, not the product that has perhaps the best margin attached to it? I know that's how PetAI works, but how do we let consumers see and understand that that is how it works? How do we build this transparency to the system? Because ultimately, trust is easy to lose and difficult to build. Therefore, we need to build that trust one step at a time through transparency, through gathering and sharing the input and the inner workings of these systems. And internally in every organization so far, in Phil's case, for example, as well, when we build these complex experiences that have multiple agents involved in determining the outcome, we need to shine a flashlight at the black box and make it be more transparent. So I'll show you quickly what we did for Cricket Australia and AI Insights. This is the back end of the fancy front end that Phil just showed. In this back end, we gave Phil and the Cricket Australia team the tools to go inside the prompts to see what's going on. So, for example, Phil talked about the several pages of prompt content for each of these agents, and this editor allowed Phil to see and understand what prompting was happening behind the scene. But in many cases today, when the experiences are multi-agent, there are actually multiple steps involved. So this tool, the testing framework, allows to get behind the scenes. So in this case, for example, we have a wicket ball event that occurred. We have the timestamp at which it occurred. We have the output that was delivered to the user or to every one of the fans who watch Cricket Live app. We have some of the technical details involved with it, but then we have the inside of the agents themselves that executed in that agentic workflow one by one. We can see each of these agent responses, for example, the batting agent. We can have a look at the data packet that Phil talked about. And as Phil mentioned, there is a lot of data. Still, this is the filtered version, but there is a lot of data that the AI needs to process to understand and come up with what is potentially the most interesting things from a batting performance perspective that occurred at this given time. We have the same agent, the same interface here for the bowler agent, for the trivia agent, and for the scorecard agent who analyzes the state of play. And we can then see these agents work in parallel in the summarizer, where we look at, well, this is all of the information from various specialist agents. This is the history that occurred beforehand. And now we're using all of that data to create one concise 70-word smash up to deliver to the user, ideally without talking about the subject that it had previously talked about. And this provided Phil and the Cricket Australia team with the confidence that they needed to be able to see into this agent framework and this agentic workflow and understand what was happening at every step of the way, to look at and start to build that trust, one answer at a time. And as Phil said, in the end, we added a seventh agent. The seventh agent is a simple one. It simply looks at the input of the data, compares it with the raw data packet, and answers back accurate or inaccurate. If it's accurate, fan gets to see it. If it's inaccurate, it tries again until it fails, and then it just dismisses this round altogether. Tools like these, we believe, are required to start building that trust for users to understand what's going on and for you to build experiences that deliver the business outcomes for your users. So with that, I'm going to pass you back to Monique for some questions and answers.
Thanks, Veli. I think we are about at time now, so we might skip the Q&A, and we've managed to answer most of the questions in the chat as well. A huge thank you, Rory, Phil, and Veli, for sharing the insights and stories here today. And thank you all for joining us. We hope to see you at our future, hopefully in-person events. We will be continuing these this year, and also some webinars in the future. We've got a QR code here which will capture any feedback and also just your expression of interest to join us at future sessions. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to any of us directly. We'd be happy to answer. Thank you again for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your evenings or afternoons.